Welcome to Storytime with Mama V. I'm your host, Victoria, but you can call me Mama V. In this show, we go on storytime adventures where magic exists, where brave knights and courageous princesses come out to play, and where the good always defies evil. Now, get comfy, because storytime is about to begin. Hello, and welcome to Storytime with Mama V. I'm so happy to talk to you today. And yes, I am talking to you today and sharing a story. Now, today marks the 30th episode of our podcast. And first and foremost, I want to just say thank you for listening every week to wonderful stories that come to this podcast from around the globe. Today's story is a little bit different. And it's actually a true story. So we could call it either the girl that was too nervous to go to school, or we can call it the girl who didn't speak English. Both titles are true for our story today. And this story comes to us from, I will not tell you from who just yet, but I announced on my Instagram a little while back that I'm doing something called Mama V on Demand. And that's something where if a child has a request for a special story, or if parents or caregivers want to gift their child a gift of a special story, or if a child needs a special message, maybe a little bit of extra encouragement to be brave or be yourself. And so I put together this story, and this actually went out to a very special couple of listeners. Now, I'm not going to tell you who the listeners are, of course, because that's private information. However, when I recorded this story, I wanted to send it to these listeners because they were having some anxiety about school and some other stuff that was kind of keeping them a little bit stuck and scared. And what I want to do is encourage kids and let them know that, you know what, there are bullies out there, but you can rise above them. And the best way I can do that is through a story. So I'm going to share our story with you today. And I want to hear back from the grown-ups. I want to hear, did you like this story? Did this story make an impact with your child? And if you'd like to hear more of these stories, please let me know. All right, let's get into our very special true story of, let's call it, the story of a girl who was too scared to go to school. Let's go. Now, what happened was this girl moved to a brand new country, and she had to go to school about 2 months after she moved. And so she went to look at different schools with her mom and dad, and they finally picked one that seemed just right. It was a beautiful school. It had huge windows, a lovely sports area, lots of fun options like drama and chess club and band and all the things you typically would expect at school. The problem was this girl didn't speak English. She learned a little bit of English before she moved, so she knew a few words, she could understand a few things, but she didn't actually speak the language. And wouldn't you know it, she was starting 7th grade. So in Canada, 7th grade is beginning of junior high school. And that's typically when kids around the age of 12 start going to junior high. But that's not the point. So this girl shows up at her beautiful new school on first day, and it's just so much is going on. She has to figure out what classroom she has to go to. She has to figure out how to talk to her teachers, how to explain that she doesn't speak English. And so the other part of it is her mom and dad had to work that day. So she had to take the bus to school and figure out how to find her classroom. And so she finds her classroom and she looks at kids, and a lot of them looked nice on the outside, but then the most dreadful thing happened. These kids turned out to be a little bit mean. They teased her. They made fun of her. They would talk behind her back because they thought she didn't understand. And she felt so confused and so lost because She moved from a different country where kids dressed differently, kids spoke a different language, and now here she was wearing clothes that she would wear to her old school. And she was wearing these silly glasses that helped her see, but she didn't really know the fashion of the country she moved to. So she just did the best she could. And so this continued on and on. And then about 2 months into her school year, she started to understand English a little bit better. And she did manage to make a friend who actually ended up being a foe, meaning this person was just pretending to be her friend. But that was a lesson learned for our girl. And so then she ended up kind of finding her way through her classrooms, and she ended up making friends with another girl who was teased just as badly, but for totally different reasons. So the two of them would hang out, and the new friend would invite her over for sleepovers or play dates and introduce her to her family. And our girl couldn't understand for the life of her why her friend was being bullied, because she seemed so ordinary. She seemed to just fit in. She dressed like the other girls at school. She ate the same kind of lunches. Anyways, it was all super confusing. But back to our main girl. So as the school year goes on, she signed up for a drama class, and somebody said to her, take drama because it will help you learn English better. And so she attended her drama classes, and there was all these fun exercises and games that they played in drama, which at first our girl didn't understand. But then she started getting into it and into it and into it. What the other kids didn't know, because of course she didn't speak English and she couldn't tell them, was our girl was very creative. She had a talent that nobody else knew about at school. Her parents knew, her old friends knew, but these people at school had no idea. And so she really wanted to use her talent, because her talent was she loved acting, and acting made her feel more like herself. And so she would have all these, pretend play games at home when she was younger. And once she understood English a little bit better, she started to get more and more into her drama games and exercises. And then one time, she had to do a lip sync presentation. So if you don't know what that is, or maybe you do, but let me tell you anyway, it's where you pretend to sing. And she put on this whole production, and I can't remember all the details of exactly what she did. I think she had to create a scene, and she did like pretend piano play, and she pretend sang, and you're not going to believe it. The kids that normally would make fun of her were laughing again, except this time they were laughing with her, not at her. And for that one moment, she got a tiny, tiny thread of extra confidence that helped her learn English more, make more friends. And you know what? By the time she finished junior high school, which is a 3-year time frame, she spoke English just like the other kids spoke English. In fact, she started speaking English probably a year after starting junior high school. And the kids that teased her, some of them still teased her, but for the most part, they sort of accepted who she was. And life went on, and the girl went on to high school and college and university. And now she lives in the world happily ever after. And my point of the story is, find your passion, find your gift. And whatever your gift is, don't be afraid to use it. If somebody at school gives you a hard time, it's their problem. It's not yours. This brings us to the end of our episode today. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you on the next episode of Storytime with Mama V. Bye for now.